Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us in what is a very busy week here in Northeast Florida. Obviously, we are now well inside of 48 hours away, heck, about 36 hours away from the players teeing off down at Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra, the 2025 edition. We got NFL free agency going on. We got conference tournament play in the NCAA basketball ranks. In fact, the ACC tournament, Florida State's on the court right now. Florida doesn't play till Friday, but the SEC tournament gets underway tomorrow in Nashville with 4 games. I saw the Big 12 tournament's already underway, so it is going to be a wild week with March Madness, with the players, obviously what we've already had with free agency. We're going to talk about all of it tonight. Guest lineup looks like this. Coming up in less than 20 minutes, my buddy Mike DeRocco, D-Rock, ESPN.com. Man, he was absolutely sensational yesterday. If you followed Mike DeRocco on social media, when it was working, of course, he kept everybody updated on what was going on. I saw 4 or 5 of the Jaguar signings first reported by Mike DeRocco. He was on top of it. We're going to get D-Rock on here less than 20 minutes, get his reaction to what the Jaguars have done so far, what they may do the rest of free agency, and start looking ahead a little bit to the NFL draft in late April. So Mike DeRocco, D-Rock, ESPN.com is right around the corner. Also, Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics, and he's also a contributor to Action Sports Jacks. We're going to get Daniel coming up here about the top of the 9 o'clock hour, talk about more of the analytics side of the new guys the Jaguars have brought in. And I did mention March Madness. We'll have Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks to preview the Southeastern Conference tournament in Nashville. That comes up later on in the 9 o'clock hour. So we're absolutely jam-packed. We are with you tonight until 10 o'clock. As always, Jacksonville, we're glad you're choosing to spend part of your Tuesday evening with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So I made this point with Baloo a little earlier. And let me just start by saying this. Before you start going on the, Hacker's negative, he's back on the negative train. No, I'm really not. Some people call it negative. I like to call it reality, whichever you want to choose to call it. I'll call it reality. You can call it negative if you so choose. But, and let me also say that I'm very pleased with what James Gladstone and Liam Cohen have done to this point. I like the 9 guys they brought in yesterday. I like the direction the franchise is headed. I agreed for the most part in the releases that were made. I still have some question about the Evan Ingram one, but aside from that, I'm okay with the guys that have been released. I am okay with the guys that have been brought in. I think overall, James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, the new power structure here in Jacksonville, I think they have done a good job to this point. But I also think what they've done, particularly that of Cohen and Gladstone, has been very telling. And let me tell you why I believe that to be the case. How many of you have either told your buddies, your relatives, people in the grocery store, anybody that's talking Jaguar football with you, how many of you at some point in the last 7, 8, 9 weeks have said, yeah, they were 4-13, but you know what? They're close. A play here, a play there. If ETN doesn't fumble that ball in Miami, who knows how the season goes. they're close. They're closer than the experts think. How many of you have said that in the last 2 months? I'm willing to bet that's probably a good majority of you. Yet, the guys that were brought in from the outside to lead this team, Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, agreed to terms with more outside free agents so far than any other team in the National Football League. The Jaguars have brought in 9 new guys. The Patriots are at 8. There's a couple of teams that are at 6. Everybody else is 5 or fewer as it stands right now. So if they are indeed closer than the experts think, if they are a play away, who knows what happens if that fumble doesn't happen in Miami, right? We've heard it all. And quite frankly, I've said some of that. I can't throw stones in a glass house. I've said some of that. I'm in here with you. Do Gladstone and Cohen's actions back up those words? By bringing in more outside free agents than any other team in football so far this offseason? By not re-signing anybody yet? Cisco's gone. Sheriff's going to be gone. They haven't brought back Mac Jones or Caleb Johnson or Dearness Johnson, Blake Hance. They've brought back no one. Are those the actions of a new head coach and a new GM that believe, like many of the fan bases at least said, that this team is closer than the experts think? I would tend to doubt it. Look, I think it's fun to say that the Jaguars are close. It's encouraging to say that they're not that far away. It's nice to say, you know what, a bounce here and a bounce there. This goes our way, that goes our way, who knows? Well, first and foremost, can't basically every team in the NFL say that? I mean, can't every team pick out a play here or a play there that could dramatically change their season? You know who says things like that? Losing franchises say things like that. But aside from that, even take that off the table for a moment. Teams that are close and teams that are a play or two away do not lose 18 out of their last 23 games. That's just reality. You might not like to hear that, but that's reality smacking you in the face. I mean, let's be real here, guys. A play here or a play there, well, how many times are you going to say that? They've lost 18 out of the last 23 meaningful games they've played on an NFL Sunday. Doesn't mean they don't have good pieces. Doesn't mean if all those pieces perform and stay healthy that they can't turn this around in a reasonably short amount of time. I'm not saying that. But 4-13 is 4-13. Losing 5 out of your last 6 to miss the playoffs and have a late season collapse in 2023, we didn't dream that. That happened. That was real. And when you say that you're a play or two away, well, no, a play or two away, or you say that you're close, well, no, that would mean 8-9 or 9-8, and you miss the playoffs by a game. Or 8-9, 9-8, and you miss the division championship by one singular game. Doesn't mean that you're close. That's why you're picking in the top 5 in the NFL draft. You're close and picking in the top 5 in the NFL draft. By the way, also firing your head coach and that staff and relieving the general manager of his duties. Again, if they were close, and if they were believed to be close, then why did they go out and bring in more outside free agents than any other team in the NFL yesterday? Again, these are not opinion-based statements, right? I'm not conjuring this out of thin air. I'm not doing this to try to ruffle your feathers. Even though maybe I've done that a time or two over the last 20-plus years. I won't deny that, but this is not one of those times. I'm stating factual information. I mean, this is reality. This is what is transpiring or what has transpired. I think the Jaguars have a good quarterback. I think they have good pass rushers in 41 and 44. I like some of the pieces on their defense. I really like Brian Thomas Jr., and I really like their special teams. Offensive line's a huge question mark. Interior defensive line, a huge question mark. Linebacker, huge question mark. Secondary was atrocious last year. Tight end, Brenton Strange is the guy right now. He's your number one if the season started today. There are legit questions. I like some of the guys that have been brought in. I like the direction. Look, Cohen and Gladstone can't make miracles in 8 weeks, or in Gladstone's case, 18 days. He's been here 18 days. 2.5 weeks for James Gladstone on the job. It's not going to happen overnight, and that's the point. I think some of you who have said in the last 8 or 9 weeks that they're a play or two away, or a bounce here or a bounce there away. No, they're probably not that. I mean, if you look in the AFC right now, take out the division for a second. If you look in the AFC, who are the Jacksonville Jaguars right now on March the 11th better than in the American Football Conference? You could probably make the argument they're better than New England, although New England's in the same boat. They were as active almost as Jacksonville. Probably make the argument they're as good, if not better, than the Jets. Certainly not as good as Buffalo. 47-10 will prove that. Certainly not as good as Miami. In the North, they're not as good as Cleveland, not as good as Baltimore, not as good as Cincinnati, not as good as Pittsburgh. In the West, not Kansas City. They're not LA. They're not Denver. Probably Las Vegas. That's a comparable. They're probably as good as Vegas. And in the South, well, they're obviously not as good as Indianapolis and not as good as Houston because they just beat you in the division. And you're better than Tennessee because Tennessee's a dumpster fire in and of itself. There's a lot of work to do. Can you have a one-year turnaround? Of course you can. I'm not saying that. I think this team has the opportunity to improve. But I would just caution you on the play here, play there philosophy. I would caution you on a bounce here, a bounce there. Because, again, how many times can you say that without it being ridiculous? They were 4-13 last year, and they've lost 18 out of the last 23 games that they played. And as a result of that, the head coach got fired, the GM got fired, and you just brought in more outside free agents than any other team in football. It's not a rebuild necessarily, but I do believe it is closer to a rebuild than it is a retooling, which is what I've heard some people say. I don't believe it's a retooling. 4-13 teams don't, quote, retool. 4-13 teams need to rebuild, which is where I think the Jaguars are, at least a lot closer than what some of you would like to believe. But I think they're off to a good start. 9 guys brought in yesterday. They got 10 draft picks. They got a new regime in here making new decisions. From that standpoint, there is a lot of positivity. Let's talk about what happened yesterday. Let's talk about what's going to happen moving forward in free agency, and let's look ahead to late April and the NFL draft. My buddy Mike DeRocco, D-Rock, ESPN.com. He was terrific yesterday, breaking all these signings. Really good work from Mike. He joins us next to break it all down. On a Tuesday evening here in the city of Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
There's no business like show business.
Now, this is serious business here, man.
The Drill.
We've got a mission.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Putting on a great show is the most important thing you can do.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic.
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but...
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round one of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Here's Linda Beaver.
It's a new year with new goals, but let's face it, not all resolutions are easy to keep. Maybe you promised yourself you'd eat healthier, but pizza still seems like a better idea. Or you said you'd read more, but your favorite show just launched a new season. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, we can help you keep your New Year's resolution. We offer the biggest selection, best prices, and the easiest car buying experience. Let's make a resolution to visit Beaver Toyota or Beaver Chevrolet, where we'll wow you with a new ride for the new year.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
How likely is it to live to be 100 years old? The answer coming up.
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
In the United States, about 5% of women live to be 100, but only 1.8% of men.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror, fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
To...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget. Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out. You need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house. Because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, it's certainly been an active 24 to 36 hour period for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 9 guys to this point have agreed to terms with the Jaguars, including 3 on the offensive line alone. Let's break down all of it and maybe talk about what's next this offseason for Jacksonville with my buddy Mike DeRocco. We call him D-Rock, ESPN.com. Mike, how are you, pal?
I'm good, Hacker. How are you?
Mike, we're good. I said this on social media, man, but I wanted to tell you now that we have you on the program, man, terrific stuff from you on Monday. You were absolutely all over it. I learned about numerous signings that had not been reported anywhere else other than you. So great job by you yesterday, man. That was fantastic.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That was good stuff. And look, the Jaguar fans, let's kind of look at a mile-high view of it, Mike. Underwhelming is maybe a word I've heard used a lot by Jaguar fans, at least the ones on social media. What was your overall take on what was accomplished, at least on day number 1?
Well, they did what I thought they were going to do in terms of addressing offensive line safety. They weren't going to go spend a ton of big money on guys, but I wasn't expecting 9 guys. I mean, that one was a little bit of a shock. But grabbing, a starting nickelback, a starting center, a starting safety, and most likely a starting wide receiver for relatively affordable 2-3-year deals, and in Brown's case, a 1-year deal. They're not trying to build this team through free agency. Back in 22, they had to really sign a bunch of guys just to kind of get to a level where they could be competitive in the division. And now they're honestly, despite 4-13 last year, I still think they're competitive in the division. James Gladstone talked about raising the floor and improving the bottom of the roster and improving the elite parts of the roster. And I think that's what they did. And this is the way you should approach free agency. Now, the other part of that is you have to draft well. Mm-hmm. And we'll see if they're able to do that going forward.
Yeah, 9 guys in day number 1. Keep in mind, they also have 10 draft picks as it stands right now. So this roster is going to be overhauled, no question. All right, let's begin with some of the questions that came out of what they did in free agency to this point. Mike, number 1 is Jordan Lewis, the nickel. They gave him big-time money. He's the highest-paid nickel in the league. I like the signing, but I guess it raises questions now as to what this means for Jarian Jones moving forward.
Yeah, I think cornerback is still an area that they're going to address in the draft. So that sort of puts Jarian Jones in the spot of competing for playing time. He doesn't automatically go outside there and start outside. He has to compete and try and, find his way on the field. Monteric Brown, they want to upgrade from him. So I'm expecting them to make cornerback a priority in the draft. This is what they want to do. They want to create a lot more competition than what they had there in the past year and a half, 2 years. And Lewis going to slide right into the starting nickel spot. That also impacts Darnell Savage. Where is he going to be? Most likely work around at at safety. But yeah, Jarian Jones is going to have a fight on his hand to get on the field, and he can play both. So, we'll probably see him on the field outside and backing up Lewis at times.
Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. Also in the secondary, Mike, Eric Murray. Now, the interesting thing there is we were hearing all about Javon Holland, Cam Bynum, and Javon Morig, and all these younger safeties. The Jaguars go older with a 31-year-old, a guy that's played a lot of football in the league, but maybe a signing that caught some people off guard.
Not a flashy guy, but a guy that they can depend on to be in the right spot. And after what we saw from the back end of that defense last year, that's a significant upgrade. Too many coverage busts last year. They gave up 23 pass plays of 30 or more yards last year. That's just unacceptable. Their pass defense ranked last in the league. Now, I get that some of that is due to the pass rush as well, but for sure, too many times where those safeties were out of position, made the wrong read. Having a reliable guy back there is as important as, a guy that makes a ton of plays on the ball. So I think that's what they've got in Murray, a reliable guy they can, depend on. And again, I think that's also another position that they're going to make a priority in the draft.
Again, like you said, not a flashy pickup, but that kind of has Barry Church vibes to me a little bit, does it not?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you hope if you're the Jags, you get more than one good season out of them. But, impact-wise, Barry Church we always talk about Calais and A.J. Boye that year in 2017, but Barry Church had just as much of an impact on that secondary as anybody else did on that defense. And he was really, really key in several games, especially that game up in Pittsburgh, the first game during the regular season. So if he can make that kind of impact, then that's a fantastic signing. But if he can just be a steady, reliable guy that's where he's supposed to be, very, very good signing.
Maybe the most intriguing guy to me is De'Ami Brown. For starters, it's a one-year deal, which is interesting. But I go back to that Washington-Tampa playoff game on Wild Card Weekend. Obviously, Liam Cohen was up close and personal with De'Ami Brown, and he shredded Tampa. 5 for 89 and a touchdown. In fact, De'Ami Brown had 14 for 229 and a couple of scores in that playoff run for the Commanders. They decided not to re-sign him. I think De'Ami Brown, there was maybe some hard feelings on his end based on some social media stuff. He ultimately bets on himself for a one-year deal here in Jacksonville. That's an intriguing one to me, D-Rock. What's your thought on De'Ami Brown?
Yeah, it's a guy with really good speed, 4.45. They can put him on the outside opposite Brian Thomas Jr., stretch the field on both sides there. It'll keep teams from concentrating too much on stopping Brian Thomas down the field, because if he's able to go ahead and draw a little bit more coverage away from Brian Thomas, then that should give him some more favorable matchups. I'm not sure how much they're going to use him in the slot yet, but he is pretty good as on those little wide receiver screens. I talked to our Commanders writer, and he said that guy really kind of made a lot of hay on those plays there. So that's a good, a good thing that's going to now be part of the offense. But they need to add, again, we've talked about this with those other things too. They need to add another player here. I don't really feel comfortable with where they are in the slot right now with Parker Washington, and that's pretty much it. Although, obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. can line up in the slot, but you don't really want him playing too much slot. He's got to be the guy outside that makes your big plays, stretches the defense.
Mike DiRocco, ESPN.com. Quickly, D-Rock, to that wide receiver position. We talk about BTJ, De'Ami Brown, Gabe Davis, Parker Washington looks to be your top four. I agree. They're probably going to add at least one more. A lot of Cooper Kupp interest in the fan base, but I'm kind of lukewarm on that, and based on whispers that you hear, I don't think that's the direction the Jaguars are going. What's your thought there?
Well, if he gets released, they'll investigate for sure, but the idea of them trading was never going to happen. They just released a wide receiver who was making a lot of money, who missed a lot of games because of injuries in Christian Kirk. So why would you then go ahead and bring in another wide receiver who missed a lot of games the last 2 years, 10, that makes a lot of money, and is 3 years older than Christian Kirk? So that never made any sense. But they'll certainly take a look at him. If he does get released, and I believe that's the report yesterday, that the Rams are planning to release him when the new league year starts. And if they could work out something with a reasonable deal with him, then I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. But I don't anticipate them being willing to spend 10, 12, 13, 15 million dollars on Cooper Kupp annually.
Yeah, 3 new members on the offensive line. Look, I think Chuma Edoba is going to be the swing tackle. It's kind of what he was in Dallas. You probably got your starting center, right, and Robert Hainsey. You probably got your starting guard and Patrick Mahari. Now the question there is, Mahari did not. I mean, he's got so much versatility, but the interesting thing is the least amount of snaps he's taken is at right guard. And Hainsey lost his job in Tampa last year to Graham Barton, but he does have 35 career starts at center. What was your takeaway on what the Jags did on the offensive line?
They had to get 2 starters there, and they managed to do it without breaking the bank. Makari is interesting because his pass block grade at guard last season was the 5th best among guards in the league. So that's pretty good. That's an upgrade there. Certainly he's younger than Brandon Sheriff, and he's been a durable player. And that versatility, like you said, is really important. He can flip both sides. He could play right tackle. He could play left tackle. He's played all those spots. So that just gives you a little extra help there if injuries do mount. And Hainsey is interesting because he's apparently one of those tough, gritty, hard-nosed guys that the Jaguars really need more of. They talk about toughness and being a guy that's not going to take any BS from the opponent. That kind of attitude, like the nasty offensive lineman attitude. So that's an upgrade for them for sure. From that standpoint, it is a little interesting because he did start 2 years, 2022 and 2023, and then the Bucs went ahead and drafted a center, the kid from Duke, Graham Barton, I think 26th overall last year, and he ended up winning the job, which was not a surprise. When you take a guy in the first round, he's going to end up being your starter 99 times out of 100. So maybe this guy's got a little bit to prove after, a season last year where he played in every game but didn't start.
Final moments with Mike DiRocco. D-Rock, at the time you and I are talking, 9 guys have agreed to terms. Not a lot of activity. In fact, 0 activity as of right now on the defensive line and at linebacker, the front 7 of the defense. I mean, that screams then that's a position they're going to hit hard early in the draft, correct?
Yeah, that's the way I would read it, for sure. Edge rusher, linebacker, and, possibly wide receiver, certainly corner and safety are going to be, guys that they're, positions that they're going to target. But you're right. They've got to get better on that defensive line. And I know Eric Armstead is moving inside, so that will help a little bit on the interior. But really, what are you getting from him at this point? Nobody really knows. So, yeah, Mason Graham sitting there at 5. I wouldn't be surprised if they grabbed him. I wouldn't be surprised if they went offensive line at 5 either. But, yeah, if you're prioritizing, definitely interior defensive line, edge rusher, linebacker probably would be high on the list because you can get away with or get by with what you've got out there right now at some of those other spots.
D-Rock, as we begin to wrap up, the crazy thing is they agreed to terms with 9 players, and I would think all 9 are probably going to make the roster, right? And yet their cap figure is still really, really good based on the morning numbers for over the cap and spot track. So it looks like from that standpoint, Gladstone worked these deals in a way to where the Jaguars still have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, and I haven't seen all of the deals yet, but most I've seen a couple of them, those 3-year deals, and they're essentially 2-year deals. Like you can get out of it after the second year if they want to without too much penalty in terms of dead money and stuff like that. So, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be filling minor holes in free agency without breaking the bank and supplement that. The free agency is the supplement to nailing the draft. So they've just got to do that nailing the draft part. But it's a smart move. This group of free agents keep the money low, and they do still have a lot. I think they're 10th in the league in terms of salary cap space remaining. Now they also obviously have to include all of their draft picks in that as well. But there is some more room out there. So if somebody does strike their fancy or someone gets released, they can go ahead and make a run at somebody if they need to.
Again, your coverage was absolutely fantastic on Monday. What do you have coming up on ESPN.com in the coming days?
Yeah, it's all free agency continuing. We're going to analyze the free agency class here, and then I think later on this week we're going to get a chance to talk to all those guys, and I think James Gladstone is going to address the media later this week as well, so plenty of stuff from that.
Mike DeRocco, D-Rock for ESPN.com. Mike, I know you're very busy. Thank you for taking time out, bud. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Hacker. Appreciate you having me.
There you go, Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com, with us here on Hacker After Dark. And you know what I was thinking? Life comes at you pretty quick in the National Football League. Rewind the clock back 6 months, right? Start of the season. It's the Friday or Saturday before they head to South Florida to take on the Miami Dolphins. That was 6 months ago. And if I would have told you in the early parts of September that on March the 11th, Doug Peterson would be gone, Trent Baalke would be gone, Christian Kirk would be gone, Evan Ingram would be gone, Andre Sisco would be gone. You'd be coming off a 4-13 season. You got 39-year-old Liam Cohen, who at that point had never called an offensive play in the NFL as your head coach. And you got a 34-year-old and James Gladstone as your general manager. You would have looked at me like I would have had 3 heads, right? You would have been like, huh? Do what? Comes at you quick, man. It is reality TV at its finest. But who's to say what it'll be like 6 months from now, which is what makes it fun. But I was thinking about that on the car ride in. Sisco, Ingram, Kirk, Sheriff, all gone. Of course, you fired the coach, you fired the GM. If you would have found that out 6 months ago, I wonder what the reaction would have been. But yet here we are. You know what that is? It's that word again. That's the reality of the Jaguars' current situation. Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics, also a contributor to Action Sports Jacks. We're going to talk about the numbers, the decimal points, the percentages. I love what Daniel does. I know a lot of you follow him on social media as well. He joins me at the top of the 9 o'clock hour to talk about the Jaguar free agent haul. Let's look around the league. Teams that have improved themselves the most. Teams that have been hurt the most in the last 36 hours. Let's take a deep dive league-wide into NFL free agency, and let's do that next. On a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville, Florida, it's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Play-by-play just makes everyday life better.
I did not see this one coming.
Get the most play-by-play on 1010XL, Jacksonville's play-by-play sports radio.
It's National Hookie Day, the first day of the Hoops Tourney. Watch the madness with 1010XL and enjoy madness specials all day long, starting with Helmets and Heels live from Hurricane Grill and Wings in San Marco. Then join XL Primetime at Twin Peaks on Atlantic Boulevard. The Frangie Show will be at the Dart Bar on King Street, and finish the day with Into the Night with Rick Ballou and Hacker After Dark at Mr. Chubby's Wings on the West Side. Now that's the way to celebrate hoops.
Oh my!
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hey, Jacksonville. You know what you get when you play a country song backwards. You get your wife back, your truck back, your dog, your SUV, and your job back. Well, at Garber Auto Mall, you don't have to play the country song backwards. We understand that bad things happen to good people, and we're here to help. With 8 all-American brands, Ford, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chevy, Buick, GMC, and a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com.
Summer in Jacksonville. Sun's out, flip-flops on, and whoa! Well, there goes Uncle Bob into the pool again. Protect your pool deck with Don't Slip Deck Coatings of Jacksonville. Their multi-layered slip-resistant coatings keep you on your feet, not on your backside. Durable, stylish, and way cheaper than an ER visit. Don't Slip Deck Coatings even has indoor options so your kitchen floor isn't a skating rink. Call 904-466-1839 for a free quote and follow Don't Slip Jacks on Facebook and Instagram.
1010XL celebrates high scorers.
1010XL and Southeast Orthopedic Specialists celebrate scholar athletes.
In class and on the court.
Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
It's time to keep the party going. All parrot heads unite once again with Jimmy Buffett's Coral Reefer Band. It's 5 o'clock live in Jacksonville. Daly's Place, Saturday, March 15th. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Let's keep the party going with a tribute to Jimmy Buffett featuring the Coral Reefer Band. One night only, Saturday, March 15th, Daly's Place.
Looking for adventure? Need a machine that works as hard as you do? CF Moto has you covered. At Ride Now Beach Boulevard, we've got CF Moto ATVs and UTVs built for any task, any trail, anytime. Tear up the dirt with the trail-tested C-Force ATV lineup or conquer through terrain with a Z-Force UTV. Find your CF Moto ride today at Ride Now Beach Boulevard or visit ridenowbeachboulevard.com. ATVs and UTVs are for riders 16 and older. They can be hazardous to operate. CF Moto recommends an improved safety training course.
Hey folks, Hicken here for Zero Res. You're going to want to beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Hey, and take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Don't forget about your air ducts. Your air ducts sort of like the lungs of your home. If they're dirty, your indoor air quality suffers. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com. Tell them Dan or 1010XL sent you. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
It's March Madness, and your office needs a champion. Advanced Business Solutions teams up with Xerox to bring you copiers that never miss a shot. Fast, reliable, and ready to handle the pressure. Make the winning play for your business. Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions, where your business goes for the win. Locally and veteran-owned.
Print documents and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
I want to start with the secondary additions because they added a guy in Jordan Lewis who the Cowboys really liked. He's been there for the last 8 years, one of the best slot corners in football, and they really wanted to keep him, but Jacksonville thinks he's going to come in and have a huge boost to their secondary. They also agreed to a deal with Eric Murray, the safety there. Both of those guys will be starters, and I know there's some questions about what does that mean for Jaron Jones, their really talented corner that they drafted last year. They think he has some versatility to play outside, so this is a group where they really want to improve one of the worst secondaries in football last year, and they prioritize that early.
The thoughts of Cameron Wolfe from the NFL Network. Well, there you go. That's a guy that's pretty well connected with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that is the thought, right? You bring in Jordan Lewis from Dallas, an 8-year man in Dallas. Gets huge money, nickel-wise, at the nickelback position to come in here. What does that mean for Jarian Jones? Well, what we speculated is that probably means he's going to go to the outside because Jarian Jones had a good year last year. You're not going to kick him to the curb. So whatever they've seen on tape, they being Anthony Campanile, Liam Cohen, Baselli, Gladstone, all the guys in charge now, they believe, right or wrong, they believe that Jarian Jones could do some things on the outside. So I guess the way it looks to me right now is Campbell and Jones are cornerbacks 1 and 2. Jordan Lewis is 3, otherwise known as the nickel. They're going to draft one, I would imagine, in April, depending on how high will determine where he stands in the depth chart. Monteric Brown is still around, right? You got DeAndre Prince, the rookie from last year. But again, and we can't say this enough, I mean, just because they were a rookie last year and made the team doesn't really mean anything because they weren't drafted by Cohen or Gladstone. But Prince is in the fold as well. You know, you bring in Eric Murray at safety, so what does that mean for the other safety spot? And what does that mean for Antonio Johnson, I guess, right? Because you still have Darnell Savage. There's legitimate talk that Dewey Wingard could be in the mix. You know, Daniel Thomas will be around as a special teams ace. But you still have Antonio Johnson. You still have Darnell Savage. Denmark, they're starting to run out of places for people. Because if you have Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, and Jordan Lewis as your 3 main corners, Eric Murray's getting paid like a starting safety. Well, then is there essentially an odd man out between Darnell Savage and Antonio Johnson? And I'm not even factoring in Dewey Wingard yet. What if he factors in? Then what happens to both Savage and Johnson? Now, we got weeks and months to talk about this, but that's certainly a story to develop, to watch. And this doesn't even take into account the 10 draft picks that they have, 6 of which are in the top 125, including, of course, that number 5 overall selection. And the way to me it stands right now, based on what they've done in free agency, if nothing else, they're going to go into the trenches, man. They're going to go onto the line of scrimmage. I would probably imagine defensive line. I mean, if Mason Graham is there, the fact that they did not address interior defensive line in free agency, that would be the easy pick, right? Now, I hope they don't go down the path of Trent Baalke here and not get a third edge pass rusher. Because Trent Baalke was just determined, right? As sure as the sun will rise, Trent Baalke, by God, was not going to bring in a third edge pass rusher to go behind Hines, Allen, and Walker. He was determined not to do that. You know, some people are determined to do a lot of things in life or motivated to do a lot of things in life. Trent Baalke's motivation was that he was just simply not going to bring in a third edge pass rusher. Because in back-to-back off seasons, he made the choice not to do that. They haven't brought a third edge pass rusher in yet. I certainly hope they do, either in the next couple of days in free agency or certainly reasonably high in the draft. As we talked about, Jacksonville, 9 guys that will officially be Jaguars as soon as tomorrow. Remember, the league calendar begins tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern. That's the most free agents that any team has brought in the NFL to this point. You look around the division, though, it's either been very active, very inactive, or head-scratching. Indianapolis, I'll give them credit. They've lost some pieces on the offensive line, but I like what they've done in their secondary. Javarius Ward and Cam Bynum. They brought in 2 very good players in the secondary. Cam Bynum's a good player from Minnesota. Javarius Ward also a very good player. Now, they lost Ryan Kelly. They lost Will Fries. They're going to have some issues along the offensive line. And then I don't know what to make of Indianapolis signing Daniel Jones for a 1-year, $14 million deal. I mean, Denmark, $14 million is not backup quarterback money. Is this a situation where it's Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson, mano a mano, beginning an offseason workouts for that starting quarterback spot?
Yes.
It has to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not bringing in a quarterback for that much money and having a guy that you just drafted in the first round 2 years ago. Like, you knew that this was kind of happening. Like, it's kind of heading that way.
How does Bauer, the GM, survive that if Richardson's that much of a bust? It's a top 5 pick you used on a quarterback. GMs don't survive that.
No. I mean, and especially not winning in a division for a division that's been this fluctuant for the last 10 years, and they haven't won one since, what has it been?
It's been a long time.
I was about to say it hasn't been any time recent.
Well, they haven't won a game in Jacksonville since 2014.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the real question, I've seen it on Twitter, like, what's the over-under for Daniel Jones, how many games he's going to start? That's the real question. If you're a degenerate gambler and you want to throw that around. I mean, the Colts have had plenty of opportunity. They've had a decent roster the last couple of years, but they haven't had the quarterback right since Andrew Luck. And, this game goes to show you can have a lot of good pieces, but if you don't have the quarterback right, it's hard to win. And the Colts haven't had that right.
$14 million. Daniel Jones absolutely is competing for that spot. So that was the news today. Houston is going to decide, or I guess has already decided, that they're just not going to block for C.J. Stroud, it appears. They released Shaq Mason, their starting guard, a couple days ago. They trade Laramie Tunsil, their starting tackle, yesterday, a 5-time Pro Bowler. Today they trade a former first-round pick in Kenyon Green, who admittedly has not been great, but is certainly serviceable. That's 60% of their starting offensive line they've traded or released in the last week. They have really not brought in any offensive line of substance in free agency. I think they signed Tomlinson, the former Charger, to a 1-year deal today. But good grief, man. Look, you can have Christian Kirk and Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz and all of these guys and these terrific skill position players, Joe Mixon, but they have nothing on the offensive line right now. That is a problem for Houston. And then Tennessee, I don't know what to tell you. I'm friends with a lot of people in the media up in Nashville. Titans Twitter has been almost inconsolable for the last 48 hours. They have a ton of money to spend in free agency, and they're just not doing anything. They brought in Cody Barton, a linebacker from Denver. Good player. I mean, he's not great. Their big splash was Dan Moore. You say, well, who is Dan Moore? Well, Dan Moore is an $80 million man now who's going to be the starting left tackle for the Titans. And the reason he's going to be the starting left tackle for the Titans is their first-round pick last year, J.C. Latham, wasn't a good left tackle. So now they got to move him to the right side. They are going to draft Cam Ward. I mean, you would have to think at this point they're going to draft Cam Ward. There's rumors out of Nashville this evening that Carson Wentz could potentially be in play, but for the life of me, you cannot go into a season with Will Levis or Carson Wentz as your two options. Now, they also released Harold Landry, which leads many to believe maybe Abdul Carter is going to be in the mix. But again, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. So I would think, and Cam Ward, by the way, is clearly the betting favorite in Vegas right now to go number 1 to Tennessee. So I think it's going to be Cam Ward. We'll ultimately see what happens. But the AFC South has been either very active or very inactive, depending on who you follow. And then quickly around the league, the Patriots had a lot of money and they spent it. They've brought in 8 new guys, second only to Jacksonville's 9. Minnesota has done a terrific job on the lines of scrimmage. Jonathan Allen, right? They bring in Hargrave from San Francisco, a couple of former Colts and Kelly and Fries, re-signed Byron Murphy. Absolutely love what the Minnesota Vikings have done. I like what Detroit has done. They lost Carlton Davis. They go get DJ Reed. They get a younger corner to replace Carlton Davis. That's really good work by everybody involved there with the Lions. So there's a lot of teams that have made some good moves. But again, I look at Houston's offensive line, I look at Tennessee not doing anything, and I look at Indianapolis announcing to the world today that they have a quarterback battle on their hands. And then I look at Jacksonville, and to me, man, the team that's had the best offseason, it's early, but at least right now, the team that's had the best offseason is the Jaguars. And amazingly enough, a lot of fans here are frustrated here about what the Jaguars did yesterday. Go figure. But let's talk numbers. Let's talk decimal points. Let's talk analytics. Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics, and, of course, a contributor to Action Sports Jacks. I know many of you follow Daniel's work online. I'm a big fan of what he does on social media. That's why I have him on. Daniel Griffiths joins me next to review what the Jaguars did. What does it mean moving forward? What do the numbers say that it means? We'll do all of that with Daniel Griffiths next on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida. It's Hacker After Dark.
One of the few places drinking and driving isn't against the law.
Good-looking shot here.
Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates
from Corona Premier, Campione Law, and Kuhn Flowers
on 1010XL.
The 2025 NFL season is right around the corner, and the Jags are building something special. A fresh team, a new culture, and a stadium that's going to change the game. Be there to witness head coach Liam Cohen and the rest of the coaching crew in action by securing your season tickets today. Become a member to get access to exclusive experiences, VIP events, and more. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you at the bank this fall.
Hello, I'm attorney Malcolm Anthony. Being charged with domestic violence can turn your life upside down. If you're in trouble, call me Malcolm Anthony at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Buying a diamond, wedding band, or piece of fashion jewelry in Jacksonville? You have two choices. You can go to locally owned Beard's Diamonds, or you can go to one of those mega national chain jewelry stores. The national chains are pretty much all the same. In fact, did you know that some of them are owned by the same conglomerate? Yes, the same Wall Street company owns all the big names. So if you're looking for extreme value with genuine personal attention, come experience the Beard's Diamond difference. At Beard's, our diamonds come straight from the source. We hand select each one for maximum brilliance. We don't have to apply corporate markups and tack on salespeople commissions, so we beat the chains on price every single day. Beard's has the strongest warranties, not gotcha clauses in fine print. Beard's has all the top designers, including Tacori and Viraggio. Beard's doesn't have out-of-state regional managers calling about sales quotas. We are all local, family-owned, with total freedom to do what's right for our customers. Beard's Diamonds, all the selection, quality, value, and service you want from local people, accountable only to you. Beard's in the St. John's Town Center.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
Jacksonville's summer heat is coming in fast. Is your AC ready to handle it? Or will it quit on you on the hottest day of the year, leaving you sweating and stuck with a huge repair bill? Duck Air Conditioning is here to save the day with a free AC system inspection. Our expert techs will make recommendations to ensure your AC system is running in tip-top shape before the heat arrives. Call now, 904-862-6769. Duck Air Conditioning, duckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
ET here, and spring in Clay County means one thing: the award-winning Clay County Fair. It's more than just rides and a concert, it's an experience. Savor the flavors of classic fair treats, explore family-friendly attractions, and enjoy a perfect mix of small town charm, and big time fun. Plan your trip with Explore Clay County Tourism and turn your visit into a getaway. Find the best places to stay, eat, and explore at exploreclay.com. And don't forget to share your fair adventures with #ExploreClay.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound & Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound & Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I wanna shoot.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Needless to say, free agency has been a wild one here in Jacksonville. Unbelievably active. 9 guys agreed to terms on the opening day of free agency. Let's talk about how the Jaguars have fared to this point and where they may go from here, particularly when we look to late April's NFL draft. Daniel Griffiths of Wildcard Analytics. He's also a contributor to Action Sports Jacks. Always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Daniel, how we doing, man?
Oh, very well. It's free agency season, so it's awesome time.
Now, you're a numbers guy. You crunch the numbers, the analytics, all that. And I've seen you put out some terrific content on social media. But just a mile-high view as we start here, Daniel. 9 guys brought in on day number 1, or at least agreeing to terms. How would you assess how the Jaguars have fared to this point?
They haven't made any big splashy moves, but I think pretty highly of most of the guys that they got. If you were to ask me a grade somewhere in the B plus range, I still think that, maybe we hear a couple more names, probably some depth pieces more than likely. But I think the Jaguars put themselves in a really good spot to go best player available in the draft. And they really filled some of their depth needs with free agency. And that's really good to see. But, yeah, B plus is somewhere in there if I had to grade it.
Clearly the biggest position that's been addressed so far is the offensive line. 3 offensive linemen brought in. Chuma Idogba from Dallas looks like he's going to be potentially the swing offensive tackle. But I think the other guys, right, Patrick McCarry and Robert Hainsey, one from Baltimore, one from Tampa, that's probably your new starting center and starting right guard, correct?
Yeah, I think so. You still have the option if they wanted to go O-line early in the draft and maybe slide somebody in at guard or in the interior. But I think that definitely to start the season, those are probably looking to be your starting center and right guard. I'd imagine, unless they want to move some things around with Ezra Cleveland. But I think that's probably the direction you're looking at in 2025.
Now, we saw some crazy money go to Will Fries earlier when he signed in Minnesota. I mean, like $88 million. It was just nuts. I mean, on the surface, Hainsey started 35 games in Tampa over the last 3 years. McCarry was a 17-game starter last year in Baltimore. On the surface, Daniel, it looks like the Jaguars might have got pretty good deals out of those contracts.
Yeah, they're two solid starters in the NFL, and especially with Patrick McCarry. I mean, he just gives you so much versatility on the offensive line, which you always love to see. I'm excited for him to finally get a place to start and really hone his craft at whatever position it is, probably right guard, but that's actually the position he's played the least amount of snaps at. He's played 672 snaps at left tackle, 832 snaps at left guard, 683 snaps at center, 272 snaps at right guard, and then over 1,200 snaps at right tackle. So, the Jaguars signed him probably to be a right guard. It's the position he's played the least. But with his experience in the league and all across the offensive line, I don't really see that being a problem. And you pair him with Robert Hainsey, who's got a lot of experience at center, and that's awesome to see. You don't have to worry too much about age there. As you did with a guy like Mitch Morse. So I expect, I was really, really pleasantly surprised with McCarry and Hainsey coming to Jacksonville. And I think that the Jaguars have some key veterans and some guys that, maybe they're not the young, high potential guys, but your Jaguars O-line next year, especially in the run game, should fare a lot better.
Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics, also a contributor to Action Sports Jacks, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Final thought on McCarry. That's a crazy stat that he's played over 250 snaps at all 5 offensive line positions. Daniel, I would have to think he's one of the only guys in the league that can say that.
Yeah, that'll be I'll go into deeper dives on all these guys here in the coming weeks, but that's, he's got over 650 snaps at 4 of the 5. I can't imagine there's many, if any, other offensive linemen in the league that have done that. And he, also did it for the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best run blocking teams in the NFL. It certainly helps to have Derrick Henry behind Lamar Jackson. But there's a lot of success there, and they got 2 guys that have been successful on playoff teams as well, and that have been pretty good at running the ball.
One of the most intriguing guys the Jaguars are going to bring in to me is De'Ami Brown, the wide receiver from Washington. And I loved your little nugget last night. I actually talked about it on the show. The fact that Liam Cohen got to see De'Ami Brown up close and personal in the playoffs when Washington went into Tampa and beat the Buccaneers in Wild Card Weekend. De'Ami Brown had 5 grabs for 89 yards and a touchdown in that Washington victory. And you look at what he did in the playoffs, 14 catches, I think 229 yards. I think of the 14 catches, 9 of those went for first down, so they were important catches. 1 year, it's kind of a prove-it deal, which, again, I kind of like. To me, Daniel, that's a sneaky good signing, man. I'm pretty high on that one.
It's my favorite that they've made so far. I think very highly of Jordan Lewis. Well, I'm sure we'll discuss that in a minute regarding him and Jerry and Jones. But yeah, De'Ami Brown gives you a lot of different options at receiver. He's primarily an outside guy. He's played 350 last year. He played 354 snaps outside, 104 in the slot. So he's probably going to be trading some snaps there with Gabe Davis, I'd imagine. But stylistically, just 2 completely different receivers. De'Ami Brown gives you something that the Jaguars really didn't have outside of BTJ, and the Jaguars would like to have him be a field stretcher. But De'Ami Brown got 7.6 yards after the catch per reception. And that's, not including what he caught the ball for, which was 8th out of 110 receivers. He forced 11 missed tackles last season, which is actually more than Brian Thomas Jr., who had 9. And that was tied for 22nd in the NFL. And he was 91st in receptions. So he had 11 missed tackles, forced 22nd in the NFL, but he was 91st in catches. We've talked a lot about Liam Cohen bringing this screen game. One of those catches that I posted last night was a screen, and you got to see what De'Ami Brown could do, and Liam Cohen saw that firsthand, and I think that seeing him firsthand was probably a big reason as to, hey, let's go get this guy. He can make some plays.
Surprised only a 1-year deal for a 25-year-old?
I think that he's going to do himself well there. It's kind of like Cisco, where maybe change of scenery will do a lot for him. I think they're the same age. Cisco is 25 or is about to turn. So I think that De'Ami Brown's betting on himself with a good year in Jacksonville. He could really blossom, I think, into a new role.
Couple of more for Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics, and a contributor to Action Sports Jax. Let's first talk about Eric Murray. Look, we saw the safety market, right? Javon Holland, Morig, Cam Bynum all got huge dollars. The Jaguars were thought to be in the mix for one of those guys. They go a little older with a 31-year-old in Eric Murray, a guy that started 14 games with the Texans last year. Your thoughts on that signing and that direction they chose to go at safety?
Yeah, this is probably the most puzzling for me. Eric Murray's a solid NFL player. I don't know how much more he gives you than what the Jaguars have had. He's got 4 career interceptions. Last year he had a better year statistically, 75 tackles, 10 passes defensed. But he's, average run defender, and his metrics as a coverage safety haven't been as great. He's allowed a 106.7 career NFL passer rating against him. You'd like to see that go up. He's going to be replacing probably Andre Cisco, who for all of his woes is a really good ball hawk. So I'm interested to see if, in the Jaguars system, he can be better than he has been. But that's not, you're asking for a lot there from a 31-year-old to kind of make a turn in his NFL career. So I'm a bit confused by that one. I would have loved to see them go after one of the bigger guys in free agency, but that's the way they decided to go. So we'll see. Hopefully it works out with Anthony Campanelli.
21 draft picks over the next 2 years. Do you envision that's a scenario where maybe they draft a safety in round 3 or round 4, either this year or next year, and he learns under Murray and eventually takes that spot in 26 or 27?
I'd like to see that. Yeah. The safety class, I like it in this year's draft. So maybe you go grab one of those middle round guys and can have them sit behind Eric Murray, and maybe next year or the following year can take the reins from him. And it's also the Jaguars have to figure out what they want to do the safety across from him, whether it's Darnell Savage, Wingard, or somebody else in the future as well.
Let's talk about Jordan Lewis. That was the first guy the Jaguars agreed to terms with on Monday. A big deal, the highest paid nickel in the league. But, I like Jordan Lewis, and more importantly, people in Dallas were very upset that he's gone, which I think speaks volumes. But having said that, that leaves some question as to the future of Jarian Jones.
Yeah, I really like both players. Jarian was one of 5 corners last year that didn't allow a touchdown in coverage. I really, really liked him at FSU. And then, I thought that he was a shoo-in for the starting nickel spot. And then the Jaguars go and sign Jordan Lewis, who, if you're just looking at Jordan Lewis, fantastic player. He is one of the best nickels in the NFL, so I get it. I think it was Gus Logue posted that he was tied for 7th in yards allowed per snap, and he was tied with Jarian Jones from nickel corners last year. I'm curious if the Jaguars decide to try Jarian out at outside corner. He played a good bit of outside corner at FSU. Maybe they decide to go that route, and you have Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones on the outside with Jordan Lewis on the inside. I'd be curious to see. I'd be excited for Jarian Jones to try his hand outside. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see, when we get the chance to talk to the Jaguars DC, Anthony Campanelli, and what his vision is for the team going forward, or if they make another corner move, whether it's in the free agency or the draft.
Final moments with Daniel Griffiths. The other 3 guys they signed quickly. Look, give Luke Farrell's agent a bunch of credit. My goodness gracious, what he got in San Francisco, good for Luke. But the Jaguars essentially, Daniel, brought in 2 blocking tight ends for basically half the money that San Francisco is giving Luke Farrell. What's your take on the 2 tight ends they brought in?
Yeah, both of them primarily run blockers. Neither one of them had too many snaps pass blocking, but at the same time, they also don't go out for routes. So, the Jaguars needed some help in run blocking. Liam Cohen, loves tight ends. We also thought that Doug Peterson loved tight ends, and then he kind of shied away from him there towards the end of his tenure. But I'm expecting a lot more unique packages from the Jaguars, especially in the run game. And I'm curious to see how the Jaguars run blocking works with Johnny Munt and Hunter Long coming in to really help that and give you guys a wall in front of Tate Bigsby and Travis Etienne.
And then Nick Mullins, the backup quarterback, was brought in as well. All right, so you look now, and it appears that it's best player available, right, when it comes to the draft. And the lack of news in the defensive front seven, at least at the time you and I are talking, kind of leads you to believe that's something they're going to address pretty early in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a world where Abdul Carter is there at 5, I'd be seriously interested to see whether the Jaguars would take him. I would definitely consider it. But yeah, I'm thinking, right now it's screaming Mason Graham. Jaguars signed 3 O-linemen in free agency already, and they have not touched the defensive interior, which was last in the NFL in pass rush win rate. So I'm certainly thinking that that's the way they go. They've talked about moving Eric Armstead inside, but I think even still, getting a guy like Mason Graham, who's great and as a pass rusher and as a run defender would behoove them and give you so much more consistency on the interior to help Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker.
Daniel, final question. You're very active on social media. You obviously are very familiar with what the Jaguar fans, or at least some of them, were saying yesterday. I guess some of them felt underwhelmed. I like what was done by Gladstone and Cohen, and I'm not always the most positive guy, but I did like what they did yesterday. I think the roster overall is certainly better now than it was 24 hours ago. But what do you say to Jaguar fans that might have felt a little underwhelmed after yesterday?
So I actually have an article coming out that's going to discuss how important free agent spending is. Of the 10 teams that have spent the most over the last 5 years, only 2 have a winning record.
Wow.
The Jaguars have spent the second most of the last 5 years, and they're 30th in win percentage over those 5 years. So, I don't want that to come across as like it doesn't matter at all. Certainly getting better players than what you had is beneficial. But at the same time, I think the Jaguars are taking the Washington Commanders approach from last year, and it's, hey, let's shore up where our holes are and give ourselves the ability to really go best player available in the draft. Jaguars did. They got some really good pieces in last year's draft, and I think if the Jaguars can build upon that and get some more really solid starters in this year's draft, I think they could be in really, really good shape. And I think the depth overall this year is a lot better.
Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics. He's also a contributor there to Action Sports Jags. Daniel, I know you're busy, man. Appreciate the time. Thank you as always. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thank you.
Tensions build.
3rd and 12. Let's go.
Plot thickens.
We got to get off the field.
Crowds roar. Tune in and let the show begin. Your home for live play-by-play is 1010XL.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. You look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic.
You're apo what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but
Bueller Air & Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses.
Whoa.
Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com. The
Lou here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Baseball is back. Don't miss this year's Florida State baseball game, Tuesday, March 25th at VyStar Ballpark at 6 p.m. This can't-miss event sells out quickly, so buy your tickets today to get the best seats possible. It's Florida State on the diamond at VyStar Ballpark, Tuesday, March 25th. Get your tickets at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. We'll see you at the ballpark.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
You can help Micah's Place support domestic violence victims by playing in the Par for a Purpose golf tournament June 20th at the stunning Golf Club of Amelia Island. Register at micahsplace.org/golf.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
You have healing power. Even writing a letter or volunteering can help heal a veteran. Find out more at healvets.org.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com. Keep the off-season rolling with AA Automotive at 1010XL. Which free agents could look good in a teal jersey?
That's a beautiful thing.
Free agency profiles are covered by Universal Roof and Contracting. Experience the universal difference.
This is head coach Matthew Driscoll from the UNF men's basketball team. When our players suffer an orthopedic injury, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists gets our players back on the court pain-free.
We appreciate the endorsements from our high school and college coaches. This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. Next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Getting a pool? David Garrard here. I just did. But before they dug, I called Clearwater Irrigation, and they capped off all my sprinkler lines so the pool company could just dig away.
Then when your pool's finished, we'll install your sprinkler system back to full coverage.
And now my backyard oasis is getting watered beautifully.
And maybe then, Dave, I could take another quick dip.
Bigger swimming trunks, John. Much bigger.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Your hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, World Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
Jacksonville runs on dreams, and Haymaker Coffee is a local brand fueling the next generation. Keep each day strong with a Haymaker. Fuel for the morning hustle, the late night, and every step of the way. Bold flavors for the bold city. Online at haymakercoffeeco.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on
Yes, it is. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock, as we are every night right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. I will tell you, it is a final from Dick Howser Stadium in Tallahassee. The Florida Gators go into Tallahassee and knock off Florida State. 7-2, good road win for Florida. I believe that's Florida State's first loss of the year, if memory serves. They were an incredible start to the year. But Florida goes in there and gets it done, 7-2. So the Gators get the bragging rights. Of course, that is the first of, I believe, 3 that will be played between Florida and Florida State on the diamond this year. Speaking of Florida State, on the hardwood, the ACC tournament is underway. We already had Notre Dame over Pitt earlier today, Cal over Virginia Tech, and it's not looking good for the Seminoles right now. They trail Syracuse 46-34. About 14 minutes to go in the second half. Would take a pretty good comeback at this point for Florida State to advance. It's so tough when you're in these conference tournaments and you're playing today. I mean, take a look at the ACC as a prime example. Florida State would have to win today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and I believe Saturday. They would have to win 5 games in 5 days, which that is just craziness. Same thing in the Southeastern Conference. There's 4 games tomorrow, but if you play on Wednesday, and by the way, there are some tournament teams. Georgia's going to the NCAA tournament. They're playing tomorrow. Odds Vandy's going to the NCAA tournament. They're playing tomorrow. I mean, there's good teams playing tomorrow, but you have to win 5 games in a row over a 5-day period if you're playing in the SEC tournament tomorrow, which is just nuts. Again, Florida gets the double bye, so they won't play again until Friday. Just the weird thing about a setup like that, 16 teams in the SEC, 10 of them will already be eliminated before Florida even takes the court. Friday night at 7 o'clock, Florida will play either Mississippi State, LSU, or Missouri in the quarterfinals. And that's certainly a big question heading into this thing. We're going to have Mark Wise of ESPN coming up here in less than 10 minutes to preview the SEC tournament, certainly focusing on the Gators. Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama, particularly Auburn, they got decisions to make. Auburn knows they're a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament regardless of what happens in Nashville. Now, I'm not saying they're going to lay down. They probably want to win. But do you want to play 3 games against 3 ranked teams in basically a 48-hour period only to turn around and start the NCAA tournament 4 days later? Now, at least Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida are all competing for what likely is the final number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Odds are it's probably going to go to the team that goes the furthest in the SEC tourney. But you look at Florida and Auburn last year, make it to the conference championship game. Obviously, the Gators had that awful injury to Micah Hanlockton. And after Florida and Auburn went through the gauntlet of the SEC tournament, neither one of them won a game in the NCAA tournament. I know John Calipari's made a lot of news this week about the SEC tourney not mattering. I don't know about that, but it's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is the NCAA tournament. So how will teams like Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee and Florida approach this thing beginning on Friday in Nashville? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the tourney as a whole. How many teams will the SEC get into the NCAA tournament? My friend Mark Wise of ESPN, the man is a college basketball encyclopedia. He joins me next to preview the action that will begin in Nashville tomorrow and will ultimately crown an SEC champion on Sunday afternoon. It is a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville with Dylan Denmark, the hacker Ryan Green with you, Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
It sure is great living in the golf capital of the world.
Geez, you love this golf stuff, huh?
Oh, yeah. 1010XL.
Hey, so where do we tee off?
Jacksonville's golf station.
Florida homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Spend $6,000 and get up to $600 off. $15,000 up to $2,000 off. $20,000 up to $3,000 off. This deal ends March 31st. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roofing Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House. Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit Rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
I open the door and take you inside the locker room to get you closer to the field, the players and coaches you care about.
Get a look at Hayes' blog on 1010XL.com.
My blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing,
where quality and experience count.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
You waited forever for your new fence. Then, strangers show up. Subcontractors rushing the job. Sent by the company you trusted. Frustrating, right? Superior Fence and Rail promises better. Their professionally trained builders deliver quality you can trust. No subcontractors, no shortcuts. Just the superior craftsmanship your home deserves.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and you got really cool things going on right now because there's new product coming in the showroom. Tell everybody about the Aprilia Demo Days.
March 11th and 12th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to have the Aprilia Demo Truck. We caught them on the way back from Daytona Bike Week. They're going to be there. Come ready to ride.
Tell everybody real quick about Aprilia.
They are a bad Italian motorcycle. Nobody's ever ridden an Italian anything and said that wasn't fun.
Check it out. Cycles of Jacksonville. All the details on their Facebook page.
Committed to the mission.
At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
For Canine Veterans Day, Navy Mutual would like to salute all active and retired canines that have served our country. Canine Veterans Day has been officially designated as a day to honor these unique members of our military. America salutes you.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Boy, one of the biggest weeks of the sports calendar is even bigger with the SEC tournament going on in Nashville. You could make an argument, a legit argument, that this year for college hoops in the SEC is one of the best years for any conference in the history of the sport. As of right now, in some bracketology lists, have 13 of the 16 SEC teams getting in to the field of 68. Mark Wise has covered ESPN's SEC coverage all season long, and we're fortunate enough to have him here tonight on Hacker After Dark. Mark, how we doing?
Hacker, I'm doing great, man. And I got to tell you, I don't even think it's an argument. I think it's now a fact. I think we can put it to bed that the SEC regular season was unlike any other, historic, however you want to frame it. And it was almost from the get-go in terms of what they were able to do in the non-conference. I'm going to give you one example. Early in the season, LSU ended up with not a very good season. They struggled in league play, but they had one of the early road wins at Kansas State, and everybody kind of went, And from that point forward, the league was just historic. So it's been fun to cover, no question about it.
Mark, you cover it as closely as anybody. I mean, obviously, I don't know if this was expected, but what was the expectation about the league coming into the year?
Well, I thought we all knew it was going to be top good. What we didn't know is that tier 2, and however you want to define tier 2, but let's just say for argument's sake, teams 6 through 13 were going to be that good. Nobody saw Vanderbilt coming. Nobody saw Missouri coming the way that they did. I think everybody had A&M in that mix. Everybody had Kentucky in that mix. In terms of joining the Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee contingent at the top. So it's the teams that in that, Vanderbilt was picked to be 16th in the league. They're going to the NCAA tournament. Missouri was picked to finish 11th, I think, going to the NCAA tournament, and I think could make a lot of noise. So the bottom half of the league was so good.
Mark Wise, ESPN, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, let's get into the Florida Gators. 27-4, Mark, 14-4 in conference play. Good gracious, what a year. 2 wins over top 10 teams on the road, 2 wins over number 1 teams at the time. Obviously, Todd Golden and the Gators surpassed almost any Gator fans' expectations. Your thoughts on their overall body of work heading into Nashville this week?
Sensational. I could easily make the case for Todd Golden as SEC Coach of the Year, but I could also do that for Mark Byington, Bruce Pearl, Dennis Gates. And that's the one award in the postseason. For me, when we did our awards, when Mike Morgan and I did our awards last Saturday, when we were at Georgia, we had the Vanderbilt-Georgia game. That was the one that we really struggled with. That Coach of the Year award, the rest of them are so, we all knew Janai Broom was going to be Player of the Year. We knew Caleb Grill was going to be Sixth Man of the Year. We knew Chaz Lanier was going to be newcomer. We called it Transfer of the Year. But that Coach of the Year, man, there have been some guys that have flat got it done this year, and Todd Golden's in that mix. I do think, I've said this from day one, Elijah Martin brought an element to Florida defensively that he had not had in the last 3 or 4 years, especially on the perimeter. And then when you combine that with, Condon and Houck, the way they are playing now, is almost like bringing in transfers. And I say that because they're so good and they've been so developed. Their player development has been off the charts. So this is a team that, is a very trendy pick to win it all. I think they're in the mix. There's no question about it. I think there's only about 7 or 8 teams that can win it all, but Florida's one of them.
Mark, I don't know, 1 seed versus a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, it's a prestige thing to be a number 1 seed. That's what all Gator fans want. I would make the argument just travel-wise. I'm not sure a 1 in the West versus a 2 in the East or the South. I think the West has to go to like San Francisco, whereas the East and the South would be much closer to Gainesville. But despite all that, why is there question about Florida as a 1, say, in relation to Houston? I mean, I get Duke as a blue blood, although I think Florida and Duke's resumes are awfully similar when it talks about quad 1s. But I don't understand for the life of me why Houston is a shoo-in for a 1 and Florida isn't right now.
I do think I'm in agreement with you. I think Houston and Florida as the 3rd and 4th number 1s are much closer than the 2 of them chasing Auburn and Duke. I mean, Auburn has lapped the field. There's no question about it. I think they could lose the first game and still be the number 1 seed. It might get closer in that aspect. The way Duke has dominated a very weak ACC conference this year has been, they're just really, I don't think people understand how big Duke is, how good they are, because everybody says, well, Duke's good, but Duke's really good, but the ACC is, and blah, blah, blah. I'm in agreement with you. I think Florida's non-conference strength of schedule is hurting them. I know it is. I mean, who'd you play? Who'd you beat? Where'd you beat them? How'd you play? Those are the 4 questions that the committee asks of every team. And Florida's non-conference strength of schedule was kind of ho-hum. Now, who knew North Carolina was going to be the team that they turned out to be? Who knew Wake Forest turned out to be the team that they turned out to be? But at the end of the day, Hacker, those teams are who they are, and it impacts your non-conference strength of schedule. I think Florida's was somewhere in the 230s.
Couple of more from Mark Wise of ESPN talking SEC tournament with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mark, the Gators won't play until Friday. It's interesting. 16 teams are going to go to Nashville. 10 of them will be eliminated before Florida even takes the court, which is what happens when you have the double bye. We know it's going to be either Mississippi State, LSU, or Missouri. And I would imagine from a Gator perspective, you might want a chance to avenge a wrong, if you will, and see Missouri in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think there's some merit to that. I think the more important question is, if you gave the coaches truth serum, how are you going to approach the SEC tournament? A lot of people are talking about this, so I'm not the only one. But last year, Auburn and Florida played on Sunday in the SEC championship game. Neither team won a game in the NCAA tournament. As John Calipari blatantly talks about, he doesn't care about the SEC tournament. And I think if you gave most coaches a truth serum, they would say the same thing. They're going to try to win. I would treat it like this, Hacker. When an NBA team goes on a 5-game road swing on the West Coast, and like the 3rd game, you don't know what city you're in. You substitute liberally and see where you are with about 10 minutes to go. That's the way I would treat it. The first and foremost, I don't know in this league this particular year if winning the tournament is worth the banging that you're going to do 3 games in 3 days, 4 games in 4 days.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, though, and I agree with you, and obviously we remember the Micah Hanlockton injury last year, so will there be any residue for the Gators based on what happened a year ago in the SEC tournament? But for this instance, you got Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama, Mark, that are probably all competing for that 1 seed. And do you think it'll be as simple as the 3 of them, whichever one goes the farthest in Nashville, gets the 1 seed?
Most likely. I put Tennessee a step behind Alabama and Florida in that mix. Florida's got the one thing that only Alabama has, which is a road win now at Auburn. Alabama's non-conference strength of schedule much better than Florida's. They have more quad 1 wins than Florida. but Florida has that big head-to-head matchup. So I think it's kind of a neck-and-neck race for that fourth number one. Here's what everybody needs to remember. If you're the fourth number one, you still get to play on the East Coast in the first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go out west the way the tournament changed, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. So you'll still be in Raleigh or Lexington or one of these sites on this coast, and then you would go to San Francisco for the regional. But I got to tell you, going to the second weekend, the least of my concerns would be where you have to play. You just want to get there.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Again, I think from a logistics standpoint, I agree with you. The one seed is a prestige thing, and look, one seeds have an easier path. You would play a 4 in the Sweet 16 as opposed to a 2 versus a 3. But my thought all along, Mark, I mean, and you tell me, when you get to the Sweet 16, it's basically every man for themselves, right? At that point, anybody can beat anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I even, in this day and age of parity, in this day and age of older players, I think only your first round is guaranteed. And I'm talking about the top 2 seeds in each region. But because we've seen time and time again where 14s scare the dickens out of 3s. We all know that now 13s beat 4s, and we've always known that 12s beat 5s. So only your first round, and everybody's going to say, well, what about UMBC and Fairleigh Dickinson? I get it. But those were 2 out of a million, okay? So, Florida's not going to be any lower than a 2 if they go out in the first day of the SEC tournament. And if you're the last number one, the reason why you end up in San Francisco or out west, if people don't know this, the committee takes the top 4 seeds in order, and they will ask, let's say if Auburn's won, they will ask Auburn, which region do you want to play in? And everybody obviously chooses the region that is closest to them. And then they would go to Duke. What region do you want to play in? And then they would go to Houston. So you kind of get what's left if you're the 4th number 1 seed. I don't think any of the top 3 seeds will choose San Francisco. That's why everybody has Florida in that region.
Final moments with Mark Wise. Mark, I want to ask you about the NCAA tournament as we end here, but quickly to the SEC tournament. As far as teams that need to improve their resume in the conference, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, is that the 3 we're thinking?
Georgia's in. They've won 4 in a row. They're in. They're even off the Lunardi ladder, what I call the Lunardi ladder. Winning those 4 games in a row. First of all, let's talk about teams that are in. I think Georgia's in, and I think they're ahead of Vanderbilt right now because Vanderbilt's on a little bit of a skid. Vandy's still in, but if they lose to Texas, I think they might end up in Dayton. Texas, on the other hand, would love to end up in Dayton. I think that is a must-win for Texas. The other team that I think's in a must-win is Oklahoma, and I know that Oklahoma is in most people's last 4 in, and because of the wins that they had in the Battle for Atlantis, where they beat Louisville, where they beat Arizona, those wins have kind of aged like fine wine. So Texas and Oklahoma, I think, are the 2 teams that have to win starting on Wednesday.
And we'll hopefully catch up with you next week when the bracket is official before Thursday's action. But if I were to say, and I talked about this last night, 68 teams get in. You figure 12 or 13 maybe from the SEC. Mark, I'm going to take the SEC. I'm going to give you the field. Who's going to win the national championship?
That's an easy one for me. I am taking the 3 letters that you gave me.
Yeah.
I am taking the SEC.
Would it be a surprise? I guess it would be to you if the SEC did not ultimately win the title.
With the exception of Duke. I think they're that good. I think they are kind of being hidden a little bit about how good they are because the ACC has taken a battering from a public perception, and rightfully so. Here's an interesting thing. There may be 9 teams in the ACC and the NIT.
Wow.
It'll be really interesting to watch how that plays out.
Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark, it is championship week. I know you're probably very busy. What are you on the call on this week?
I am on the Southland Conference here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, Tuesday night semifinals. People will remember Will Wade from his LSU days. He's the favorite with McNeese. And then the championship game is on Wednesday on the Deuce, 5 o'clock Eastern. We're starting that night's Champ Week activities off.
It is a great time of year for college basketball, championship week, and, of course, Selection Sunday. And here we are next week. In fact, a week from tonight, we will have the action in Dayton as the NCAA tournament will get underway. Mark Wise. Mark, I know you're incredibly busy. Thank you for taking time out. We'll hopefully catch up next week before the tournament tips off.
That'd be great, man. Catch you next week. Enjoy the games.
And thank you to my buddy Mark Wise of ESPN for joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark as the SEC tournament gets underway tomorrow. 4 games tomorrow, 4 games on Thursday. Remember, Florida doesn't even play until Friday night. 10 of the 16 SEC teams will already be eliminated before Florida even gets on the court. But some gigantic games tomorrow. Texas and Vanderbilt in a gigantic game. Oklahoma probably in a must-win as well, as teams are looking to get in to the NCAA tournament. And Mark brought up a good point. Like, if you're Auburn, particularly Auburn, who already knows they're a 1 seed, you can even make the argument for Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama. You know you're going to be a 1 seed or probably a 2 seed at the worst. How much do you want to invest in a very, very physical, very, very competitive SEC tournament, knowing the NCAA tournament begins for you potentially on Thursday next week? So there's a lot to weigh for a lot of these teams as the conference tournament does begin up in Nashville. So, again, thank you to Mark Wise. We certainly talked a lot about that, but as you can imagine, it was a lot on the Jacksonville Jaguars and what has been a very, very active free agency period for them to this point. Well, that will just about do it. Very busy night for us here on a Tuesday edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Mark Wise of ESPN talking college hoops. Thank you to Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics, and a contributor for Action Sports Jax. Always appreciate crunching the numbers, talking about the analytics side of things, particularly when it comes to the Jaguars and what they did in free agency to this point with Daniel Griffiths. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. D-Rock was on one on Monday. He was phenomenal following his coverage of the Jaguars and all 9 guys they agreed to terms with. Terrific work by Mike DeRocco, and we certainly appreciate him taking time out for us this evening. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5